Abanigani, everyone. This is Professor Rahh, Professor Emeritus of California State University Africana Studies Department, formerly Black Studies Department. We want to welcome you here to the Conscious Corner. We got a deep discussion this evening about the Brother Jamil Abdullah Amin. Al-Amin.
Al-Amin.
Al-Amin. And that's brother he out of Detroit, and he should have good information about that. Ernest, have you ever heard of him?
Beg your pardon?
Have you ever heard of where Jamil Abdullah Al-Amin?
Seems like it sounds familiar. Yeah.
Well, that used to be H. Rap Brown.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, he just passed today.
Oh, man.
And we got to honor him and give respect for his contributions. Brother you want to start?
Well, you know, H. Rap Brown, very vocal with the Black Panthers. He of course, you know, he passed in prison.
Yeah.
Allegedly, according to the cops down there, they were assassinating drug dealers in Atlanta. And he was very active in the community down in Atlanta.
Yeah.
He had transitioned into Muslim. I don't know what sect.
Just Al-Islam.
And they had a community, a strong community. He was doing good things. And, you know, this was during the crack era, and drug epidemic it was destroying our communities. The same in which we're still feeling that effect from that today. And I really don't know what happened. I don't know. He didn't write any books or anything. He always said that he was innocent of that. He pled innocent to that. But I have very little knowledge about why, what, or if he actually was behind the assassination of those young brothers.
All right. Hold on. Okay. Is Mashinda there?
Yes, sir.
Mashinda, did you ever hear of H. Rap Brown?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've heard of H. Rap Brown. You know, I mean, it was, when I was a kid, and then kind of lost touch. I guess I heard about it when I was young. So, went to prison and all that. So I guess he'd been going to prison for a long time. So, kind of lost touch with what H. Rap Brown was doing, and I was unaware that he passed away. I just hadn't got the memo today or the news, but yeah, I didn't even know he was still alive, to be honest with you.
You're on mute, Dr. Rahh.
Yeah, we was trying to get him out of prison and trying to send funds and demonstrating and writing letters and things. The organization, us and myself. What about you, Ernest? You ever hear of H. Rap Brown?
Oh, yeah, I went to I'm trying to think what day that was, up Jordan High School, up on 103rd in LA, and he was going to speak up there, but the crowd got so rowdy. I'm trying to think, it was during the summertime.
Watts Festival?
Years back, and they got so rowdy, them fences that surround the school, big chain link fence. They pushed the fence down, so they got him out of there. We didn't get a chance to hear him,
Okay.
With a buddy of mine, we went up to see him,
Okay.
I did see him in Detroit. I saw him in Detroit with Farrakhan.
Okay.
Remember when uh the brother from the he was just here. He was just on the program. We were talking about let me get it. What's the attorney's name that was the mayor in Atlanta? I mean in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, who passed with a heart attack.
Oh yeah, that was Chokwe Lumumba.
Yeah, brother Chokwe.
Mm.
He put on a conference here in Detroit, and this was like in about 83, 84.
Mm-hmm.
And H-Rap was there, El-Amin, and all this Muslim guard, and Farrakhan was there. And the interesting about that is there was a simmering heat, and I think like the brothers between the nation and between his sect had to be kind of like divided and
Mm.
talked to cool down because they was getting ready to get down for some apparent reason. But I just wanted to bring that up before you start talking, Dr. Rahh.
All right.
All right, thank
So
you.
Mashinda, okay, you said, what about you, Rashaki? Did you ever hear of H. Rap Brown?
I just heard of him. I didn't really know too much about him at all. And if I did, I don't even remember. But no. Dr. Sharita's here. She may know of him.
Dr. Sharita, have you ever heard of H. Rap Brown? He's just passed.
Yeah, same here. I've heard of him, but I don't know. Yeah, I can't really speak to his work. I'm just learning. I'm
All right.
listening and learning.
Anybody else on Rashaki? I can't see. I only can see Ernest and you.
No, it's just six of us here.
Okay then. Let me just say this. This brother was a major contributor to the Black liberation, the Black freedom movement, especially the emphasis on Black power. He came to prominence in the late '60s and going into the '70s. I went to see him speak at Jeff High School when Stokely Carmichael, at that time, Merv Diamond, and a brother with the Black Power rally at Jefferson High School. And me and about 5 other brothers drove up there to hear him speak. Now, he got the name as a young man when he was going to college, high school and stuff, rap. But at the same time, this brother it's challenging that most young people don't know anything about him. But he was really one of the most inspiring speakers at that time and organizer. He took the place of Stokely Carmichael. John Lewis was the first president of SNCC, what is called Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. But John Lewis was a civil rights, and it was an integrated group. They were integrated. White and Jews were all registering Black people and participating in the civil rights movement. There were 2 tendencies to the liberation movement of the '60s, a civil rights and a Black power. Kwame Ture and this other brother, they popularized the term Black Power by participating in what they called a march against fear, because the brother was marching to go integrate Alabama University, and he got shot. James, I forget his name. I'll get his name later, but you would know his name. But anyway, he was shot, and so Martin Luther King then decided to continue his march. And when they continued his march, Stokely was with Martin Luther King at that time, but they were marching, and then they were singing, "We shall overcome," and all this, and then Stokely and this other brother started yelling Black Power, and that's how the term Black Power got popularized. But going back to H-Rap, John Lewis was the president of SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, that was an offshoot of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Stokely took John Lewis' place. It was a very controversial move. They moved John Lewis out as president and told the white people they couldn't be a part of SNCC. And then Stokely and Stokely left, was about to leave that and become a Panther, and H. Rapp took his place as president. So they changed the name from Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee to the Student National Coordinating Committee. H. Rapp spoke at Jeff, was introduced at Jeff. That's when he was first introduced in California as the new leader of SNCC. And he got his name because he could talk. I mean, this brother could speak. But in 1968, they passed a law called the H. Rap Brown Anti-Riot Act. You can look it up, H. Rap Brown, saying that you couldn't incite riots and you couldn't incite violence and do this type of stuff. Congress passed that. It's called the H. Rap. Because his position was that America was as violent as apple pie. That was his major saying. And then this brother, tall, my brother, he converted to Islam after he had went to jail. They put him in jail on some trumped up charges. They charged him in Maryland with starting a riot. The riot started after he spoke and he left. And he wasn't even there. And they put him in jail. So then he converted to Islam. He became an imam. That's like a minister for Islam. He opened up a market in Atlanta, and then after he did that, as he was saying, there was controversies about people trying to stop the drug epidemic in Atlanta, and so two sheriffs were going to serve a warrant on him in Atlanta and on his property, and they got shot. One survived and the other died. And they said, and the one that lived said that H. Rapp was the one that did the shooting. But H. Rapp said he didn't do no shooting and that they were just targeting him. And they had targeted him under the Freedom of Information Act and COINTELPRO. They got all kind of information on the government spying on him and having him under surveillance. And he tried to argue, all you have to do is look at your surveillance. You've been following me. They wouldn't let that information in. Said it was secret. So anyway, he went to prison for life, and we were trying to get him out along with another brother out of Chicago, New York. But anyway, while he was in prison, he began to organize under Islam and teaching as a minister of Islam, an imam, leader of Islamic faith. But his contributions are monumentous as far as his contribution to us as a people. And that's the law Rashaki just put up, H. Rap Brown law. Right, and so that's how they feared him. They passed the congressional law. Now, the beautiful thing about this brother is that being an imam, you don't kill and shoot people. In fact, in the Nation of Islam, you don't even carry guns. You couldn't carry guns. The minister wouldn't allow it, and you couldn't even have warrants in the Nation of Islam because they didn't want the police coming in the mosque looking for you. In them days, they used to arrest you for parking tickets. But H-Rap, as they called him, he converted when he converted, he changed his name to Jamil Abdullah Al-Amin. And the brother was just a smooth brother. He started using his mind. I mean, he had went to college. But most of our people do not know of his contributions. Like many don't know about Stokely Carmichael. They don't know about many of the leaders. They called them black militants in the 60s. You remember that, Ernest?
Yeah.
They called black militants. I mean, we were called militants, meaning that we were a menace to the established order, and we were put under surveillance from that standpoint. But the point is that his role in organizing and getting young people conscious of what America was about, with its violence, with its wars, with its military complex that has what they call weapons factories where they don't do nothing but develop weapons and sell them all over. So H-Rap was trying to expose all this to young people, that America is the most violent country in the world, and that you better arm yourself or harm yourself. That's what one of his sayings was. And at the same time, the government didn't like that. They didn't like anyone telling black people to arm themselves, to be able to defend themselves. They did that with Robert Williams also, of the Deacons for Defense. And so he was strong in that area, and we should honor his contribution to the movement, because he inspired a lot of young people to become more knowledgeable and educate themselves to the realities of America and what they were up against. And as I said, that being a Muslim of Al-Islam, he wasn't a Muslim of the Nation of Islam. Al-Islam, there was two factions. Well, there's a lot of fractions of Muslims, but the two major factors, after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad died in 1972, 71 in the 70s, his brother, his son took over, Wallace D. Muhammad. And Wallace D. Muhammad said what his father was teaching was incorrect. And he ordered them, Muslims used to say, I'm Charles 3X and 4X. He ordered them to get rid of all those X's on their names and get a Muslim name, or go back to their regular name. He set Farrakhan down. Told Farrakhan he couldn't teach, but he could be a Muslim. But in 1978, Farrakhan decided to rebuild the Nation of Islam under the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But Warsd was telling them that he got rid of their names with the X's and got rid of the FOI. He said no more Fruit of Islam. That was their military base. He told them that, quit calling the white man devils. And, he just changed everything. Now, Warsd was going to be with Malcolm in the early 60s, when Malcolm started the Organization of African Unity, modeled after the Organization of African Unity on the continent. He was starting an Organization of African American Unity here as a part of his movement. He was going to keep the teachings of the Nation of Islam, and he separated the religious group from the struggle. But because he said he was still a Muslim. That's Malcolm, and he wanted to keep uh, people engaged in being those that wanted to be in Islam, but he wanted to also be able to reach out to Martin Luther King them and develop coalitions and alliances with all black people. And so that's how Malcolm became a threat to the Nation of Islam, and they began to create an atmosphere to have him assassinated. And that's how he ended up assassinated, because they felt that when he started telling that Elijah Muhammad had impregnated young girls, I'm talking about young girls, like Epstein, 16, 17-year-olds, and that they got mad at Malcolm for that, and it just became a blow up. But anyway, getting back to H. Rap, as I was saying, if you ever study his works, you would understand that there's no way he would have shot them sheriffs coming on his property, because they had a warrant for his arrest for what he was talking about, suspicion of killing or the death of crack dealers in Atlanta, and so that's how he did. But but at the same time, we are robbed of the knowledge of the strong brothers that put their lives on the line for our movement. Even Chokwe Lumumba, as he had brought up, an attorney who became the mayor of Jackson with Imari Opadeli and the New African People Party. They bought land in Jackson, and Imari Opadeli was put in prison for 10 years. And Imari Opadeli was starting a town for black people in Jackson, Mississippi, and that's why they arrested him and got him in prison, along with Ben Chevis and the Wilmington 10 that in North Carolina and Wilmington. They 10 of them were arrested for supposedly robbing or shooting up a gas station. And they did 11 years and found out they didn't do it. And when he came out, Reverend Ben Chevis came out. But the point is that in the 60s, Stokely Carmichael, H. Rap Brown, before them, they all modeled their discussions and talk behind Malcolm. Malcolm was the biggest inspirator of motivating young people to teach hard and teach young people and speak hard. And so that's how they modeled their lectures and discussions behind Malcolm. And Malcolm was the biggest organizer of the Nation of Islam. He was a very disciplined soldier. He believed in one meal a day. He was the most honest a person. Like him and Martin Luther King, on their death, they were both, for the most part, broke. Even Martin Luther King, when he won the Nobel Peace Prize, donated it. And even though Martin Luther King was a minister, he was traveling. But as far as when I say broke, I mean they didn't have millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Malcolm didn't even own the house. The Nation of Islam put him out the house that they had. Matter of fact, they threw a Molotov cocktail in it, and he ran down the street with a shotgun. Malcolm did, and it was so much intergroup conflict that was started by not only the brothers conflicting amongst themselves, the COINTELPRO program, and then the shooting at UCLA in 1968, where the sister who was in the Panthers used to go with one of the brothers in the organization, us, and he was talking to her. She slapped him. I think he pushed her or something. She went and got the brothers in the Panthers, and they came out, and they the ones that started the shooting. And because we was at Long Beach State, and we were having meetings there, and we got the word that there was a shootout at UCLA over women. And but what happened was they tried to act like it was an ideological fight when the US organization and the Panthers were really working together. As a matter of fact, the US organization provided security for Stokely and HRAP, and they organized the first. They brought Betty Shabazz out after Malcolm's assassination, and to speak, and so. But anyway, and so they blamed Maulana, but Maulana was in New York at the time, organizing a political group in Newark that put black people in political position. But the CIA and the Edgar J. Hoover them said that it was and put it out that the US organization ambushed the Panthers, and they had a number of shootouts in San Diego, and then the charges of different charges on Maulana. They put charges on him, said he tortured some women and things of this nature, but all of that proved to be false. But he did 4 years in prison, and Merv Diamond helped Maulana get out. But HRAP, we couldn't get nobody to help us legally to represent his case because they just didn't want to get involved because of the atmosphere. But the struggle, as I was saying, the Black Power struggle and the Civil Rights struggle complemented each other. As a matter of fact, it was the Black Power struggle that propelled all the NAA. Martin Luther King, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, to prominence, so that the system would deal with them rather than deal with Stokely and HRAP and the Student National Coordinating Committee. And these are the things that our kids are robbed of, that history. History that they should know that people did. It's just like in Oklahoma, Tulsa. They talk about the massacre of black people, but they don't talk about the soldiers that fought back. Eventually, they were killed too, but they fought back. Our people fought back. They don't talk about the ones that fought back on the continent against the Holocaust of enslavement. They don't talk about all they talk. They act like we was just so meek and so weak and just went willingly, and then they put out stories. We sold ourselves into slavery. And I'm not saying some black people didn't participate in it. That you have black people participating in the fugitive slave law, helping them catch black people who ran away. You're going to have collaborators, but at the same time, the beautiful thing about our movement is that once you study it, you see heroes and heroines. It's like Harriet Tubman. She helped many black people to freedom, and they had $1 million reward on her life, and nobody told on her. That's a hell of a story. And you understand? So these are historical dynamics that will inspire people not to be violent necessarily. Because even Malcolm said, we can have a revolution. We're the only people that can have a nonviolent revolution. He first said, if you know what revolution meant, you would never use the word. It's a bloody thing. But then he said, but black people in America could have a nonviolent. And that's what they're talking about coming up for Thanksgiving. As I move from Al-Amin into this, there's a call by Black women to boycott Amazon, Target, Walmart, Home Depot for their role in the immigration policies of Trump, and for us to illustrate our economic power by not purchasing anything in them stores during the black so-called Friday and Black holiday sales. And so some people gonna participate in it. The majority of us probably won't, because they don't. Many don't follow the news or into the consciousness. Many of them are just Americans. They're Americans by habit. You have to choose to be Black, as Dr. Garanga teaches. You have to choose that. Like I could have committed class suicide and moved out of Compton. I could have chose not to be in the Black movement, or not to change my name and things. I chose to do that. The first mark of liberation in your freedom is to name yourself. Animals and enslaved people are named by their masters. Free people name themselves. That's why in Rhodesia, people changed the name to Zimbabwe as soon as they got free. And South Africa is supposed to be named Azania. But at the same time, free people name themselves. And you name yourself after your cultural dynamics. It's okay. We respect Black people naming themselves. Thanks for Rashaki for putting that group's call for Black Friday boycott of Amazon, Target, Home Depot. And most of our Black people don't even know people have called for that, because they don't give us the media time. And we don't have the money to buy the media time and advertising and posters. But the question is, are you going to boycott? Most people won't. Most people have already shopped, picked up turkeys, don't even know that turkey wasn't even a part of Thanksgiving in the beginning, and don't know that the Native American refers to Thanksgiving as a national mourning day, because their story of Thanksgiving is totally different from the concept that colonialists or pilgrims on Plymouth Rock in Plymouth and sat down with Indians and had a big feast. Some people say they didn't feast. They were it was about them celebrating killing 700 Indians by one of the governors, and he called a national day of Thanksgiving in the massacre of 700 Indians. But anyway, those are the historical things that we don't know. The same thing with Halloween we just celebrated. Everything you teach your children not to do, they do on Halloween. Let me give you an example. You tell your kids don't eat so much candy, and then you take them out to get candy. You understand? And then you tell them there's no such thing as ghosts and demons, and then you dress them up in ghosts and witches and things of this nature, and you tell them there's no such thing. You say it's fun for fun, but Halloween came out of the Celtics festival, and it's about warding off evil spirits. And even when you go back to Thanksgiving, in 1621, supposed to have been when they had their first Thanksgiving, we were enslaved at that time. Since slavery started in 1619, well, some of us were indentured, But chattel slavery started in about 1620, and in 1621, when I mean chattel slavery, that means when they said all black people could be enslaved. Because the whole purpose of them killing the Indians was that they were trying to enslave them, but they couldn't. And disease and other type of things contributed to wiping out millions of Native Americans all over the country and taking their land. Now, I always refer to Thanksgiving as Native American Appreciation Day, Recognition and Appreciation Day, but it's also a national day of mourning for the Native American. We have two major holocausts. The first one is the Native American, because they lost their land, their culture, and all kind of atrocities that the Europeans did to get this land. And then ours was to work the land. As they say, they didn't bring us over here to own land or to become citizens, but they brought us over here to work the land. And so those are the dynamics. Now, why would we teach this? We teach this to our young people, not to be angry, but to motivate them to achieve in areas that they can prosper, and at the same time raise their children to know where they are. Like, there are many students, immigrants that come to this country. They come here for their education only, but their education of who they are and what they're about is from their own culture. And that's why at that time, Molefe Asante introduced the term Afrocentric. Before that, he was at UCLA under the name of Arthur Williams, I think it was, and he called it Afroology. And then as he moved on the East Coast and became the first chairperson of Black Studies at Temple University, he popularized the term Afrocentricity, meaning that the center of our knowledge should come from our own culture. And as they developed ASCAT, Association for the Study of Ancient African Civilization, they began to find writings and sacred narratives that was written on the hieroglyphics and on the papyrus paper in ancient Egypt and in the tombs of ancient Africans that were put in tombs, and they began to translate that with the Book of the Dead and the Book of Coming Forth, and all of that information was translated into a book called the Hosea and the Odu Ifa, and those books were translated. And there was also a book called Book of the Dead that was translated by Wallace D. Bugg, who was a white man who was a curator, and he converted to, he made it possible for Black people to understand hieroglyphics and things of this nature. But even Dr. Chancellor Williams, who studied 30 years African culture, went blind studying it. Him and John Henry Clark, they read so much, and they went to Africa. And Dr. Ben and John Henry Clark and all of them, and they went up to the pyramids and climbed them and read them, and they brought all this information back. It's so much that as Ivan Van Sertima, who wrote the book "They Came Before Columbus," meaning African people was here before Columbus. They all held up. He said, "We as a people." I was at a conference, the African American History conference in Baltimore, and Ivan Van Sertima was speaking, and he said, "We as a people have forgotten more than we will ever learn," and that's a quote of his. Ivan Van Sertima was a speaker out here a number of times, at Compton College, State of the Race, uh, Black People's Conference at Compton College. And he was a speaker at the Black Consciousness Conference that I helped start at Long Beach State. But all of this information and this history would have never came about if it wasn't for the Black Studies movement. The Black Studies movement was very unique, and it still exists today because they didn't expect for it to last. The first program, some people credit Harry Edwards at San Francisco, it wasn't a department. They just offered classes in Black Studies, and they called it the first program. But departments were demand of students. The first Black Studies development was student-driven. Now it's academic-driven because people with PhDs working it now. When we first started, we couldn't get a person with four of the teachers had no degrees because we couldn't find nobody that would teach in it. They all wanted to teach in traditional departments where their degrees were in because there were no Black Studies degrees at that time. Now you can get a PhD, master's, and BA, and certificate and minor in Black Studies or Afro Studies or Africana Studies. So all of this history of struggle, and even the Black bookstores and flourished, and naturals, and came out the 60s movement, the Black culture movement, the Black arts movement. There were a number of movements that were in the 60s that was very crucial to our development. And people started museums. And as Ernest talked about the Culture Center in Long Beach, they had a number of culture centers. Matter of fact, Linda Shorter and her brother, Reggie, them had a Black bookstore. A brother named Akunsana. He had an art museum where he dealt with brass, just making masses and iron things. That he had so many. We had him on our show, and those are the histories that are lost and that we have to keep alive. Anybody have any response to what I was talking about?
Yeah, when you were talking about a rap, it was a Jefferson High.
Yeah,
I was up there, yeah, but did he ever speak? Because when the crowd got so rowdy, that's when we left, you know.
yeah. But then he came back and they spoke.
Yeah, because I know he left and they said he was coming back, but
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
buddy went.
But I think you was at Jordan at the Watts Festival.
Yeah, right.
That's when they
It was the
closed.
Watts Fest.
That's when they shut down, because see, most people think Wattstax was the first concert, but the first concert was put on by Motown, and it was at Jordan High School, and
Oh,
they had to shut it down because the people wouldn't get back from the stage, and was, like you say, people were they was trying to charge people to come in, and people
yeah.
jumped dates and did all kind of stuff, and that's when they closed it down. But some of the acts did go on
Oh,
before that. Yeah. But any other comment, brother?
yeah. Because me and my wife, we used to stay
Go ahead.
up real late at night, and you know, because Karanga, Dr. Karanga had that late show,
Mm-hmm.
some talk show at night. We used to listen to him. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, let me tell you, Kwanzaa's coming up. Most people don't even know what it's about and how it got started. But it started out very small, and then it escalated because Kwanzaa is about 7 principles in Nguzo Saba. And it's about a celebration of family, culture, community, and culture. And it's about ethics and value. And it's not a Black Christmas. It starts on the 26th, the day after Christmas. And it lasts until January 1st, 7 days. And the reason it's 7, the Nguzo Saba is 7 principles, is because when they were celebrating it at the head college, they had 7 kids, and so therefore they that's how it became. That's why you have 2 A's in Kwanzaa. If you look up Kwanzaa, it's supposed to only have 1 A, but they added an A to make it 7, and that's why you have 2 A's in Kwanzaa. And people be saying, well, Marlon didn't start that. Well, who put the A in? Because most people spell it with the double A. Who created it in Google Saba? You can say, I was just with Anthony Anderson this past weekend, and Anthony went to Compton College. He had a food giveaway. This brother is amazing. His consciousness is unbelievable. I taught him at Compton College, and I was one of his favorite people. So they let me come to the program. I had to go up there.
Was that last week? Because I saw that video clip.
Yeah. It was
came
called.
in, you was there.
Yeah. Harvest, the harvest of hope, harvest of hope. And he has a foundation, and they just selected Anthony as humanitarian of the year for the Hollywood parade. The Hollywood parade, not the Rose Bowl parade. But anyway, you have any comment?
No, sir, Professor. Beautiful flow tonight. Very informative. Thank you.
You must too kind. You must too kind. But let me just say this to you. We're in deep struggle. We have a lot to be grateful for. Our ancestors and all of them that have contributed to our liberation and freedoms that we have today. And don't think that Black people are not struggling. Like they called for this boycott. They're going to have another major rally tomorrow against ICE. Maxine Waters just called Trump a bunch of names. That's me, Anthony, his mother. His mother went to Markham and Watts and Jordan High on 103rd. Anthony's a down brother from, that's my son with the checkered shirt on, and my grandson. And that's Anthony's mother standing behind me, and that's Anthony in the Omega. Him and my son in Denver are very close. Anthony just got to participating in an Omega program out in Colorado, and they met and rendezvous together and had a good time. But anyway, it was just a beautiful affair for him to come to Compton and hand out food, and he was concerned because he kept saying, "Man, there's a lot of Latinos. Where are the brothers and sisters?" You had to register, and then you come and you get in line, and they had your number. But anyway, he gave out over 200, close to 400 packages of food and other goodies that go with the dinners and things of this nature. And as I was saying, the majority of our people is going to celebrate Thanksgiving because it's a tradition within our families, and because we choose to be out of habit, and people don't know that there's nothing more beautiful than us getting together as a family, but not to give thanksgiving to the colonists, the pilgrims, and things of this nature who massacred the Native Americans. And so that's the critical aspect of it. I think Dr. Abdul Muhammad wanted to change it, create a holiday for and drop the name Thanksgiving and call it something else before he passed. But still, we got some very creative people. We're gonna have some people that hopefully be on the show this coming year. That we're going to try to get some major individuals. I think I got a commitment from the mayor of Compton to come on before the holidays is over with. Emma Sharita and this brother who created a magazine for Compton called City Pride, Charles Jackson. He's going to come on, and that's who I was talking to before I came on. But we got to continue. The key to our struggle is education. We got to get educated. Education. And then you look at education, mobilization, getting people to come out, and then organization. The reason we organize is to keep it going and train others to take our place as we get older, so that it become institutionalized. And it's just like Black Studies at Long Beach State started in 1969, the first classes, and it was reconstituted in 1970. What happened was we demonstrated, tore up libraries and everything to get Black Studies started. Ran off 5 different presidents of the university. And that's EOP, Education Opportunity Program also. So when they started it as a Black Studies department. And this brother named Arthur Jackson out of New York, I think, was chosen to be the first chair. But it was inspired by I'll get his name a little later. But anyway, he's the one that inspired him to start the Black Student Union also. And he was a faculty member. But he left in 1969. And Joe White left in 68, Dr. Joe White. And so it was just the students. This sister, she was a faculty advisor. And so we had major demonstrations, 500 people blocking the president's office and doing different things. And I was in the midst of a lot of that. But I was a basketball player. Plus I had a job was taking care of my mother, brother, and sister, and still was participating in a lot of the struggle. And so when we started the Black Studies Department, Lance Jeffers, Ernie Clark, Lindsey Thomas, all helped and students put the curriculum together. And so in 1969, they interviewed these people and they brought this brother Jackson. But he didn't come. He went back to New York. He signed the contract. Then when it's time for him to come and be the chair, he didn't come. The students had started. And I think the reason he didn't come is because of some of the students told him that, they had other plans later on. They wanted Tony Wilkins to become chair after he graduated. He was a student at that time. And they had a student council that they felt was going to govern the department, not the chair. In those days, to be a chair in an academic department, you had to be elected by the faculty in that department or a national search. And you get a faculty position with it. So anyway, they did. And he didn't come. So Tony, who was a student, took on the responsibility of being the chair. But the faculty that they hired, Ms. Trelly Jeffers and Dr. Coney and a guy named Dr. Desilu, they complained to the faculty that they're not going to let a student run the department. And they didn't want a student. But the students were so strong, they just went in and just took over the department. So that summer, after the 69 classes were offered, they shut Black Studies down. Said there would be no Black Studies, took the keys, changed the locks on all the doors, and refused to pay the faculty, and said that they had to be evaluated. They didn't turn in no evaluations, and that they had to choose a chair, and but they couldn't get it together. I was a student athlete, and I was a part of a lot of the demonstrations. So Tarkanian took me up to meet Dr. Horn, who became the new president, and said that, we need to hire him in athletics, hire me to be a part of the athletic program. And I told him no, I wanted to reopen Black Studies because they had shut it down that summer. And I said, I would like to restart it. And, I told him a whole bunch of crazy stuff. And so when they said that, they hired me as an administrator of Black Studies because they couldn't hire me as a chair because they didn't have a national cert. But they gave me all the duties of a chair. I got the letters and all that said that. And so after the chair, we got the chair. After that, I went and met with the BSU. And I said, man, look, we got the department back open. I met with their head counsel. I said, y'all run it. I just wanted to get it back open on the Black side. The leadership said no. They didn't want to work with me. I said, what? I said, man, I thought y'all wanted the department. No. I got it in a news article where I talked about that right after that. And so Earl Parker knows, and a few other people know what really happened. And so when I became head, I said, I told the fact when they hired me, they wanted me to hire new people. I went to the BSU and said, no, we're going to bring back everybody y'all hired. And that's when we brought back Emory Evans, Oconee, a few others. But a lot of them, with their loyalty to the BSU, wouldn't come back and teach. So I hired Dr. Yuku, Sherry White, Emory Evans came back, along with Oconee and a few other people, and Trelly Jeffers. Because they had hired all their friends, and for the people that were on, we couldn't get nobody with doctorate degrees to work in the department. And so that's how it got started. And I was the first chair of the reconstituted department, our first administrator leader of the reconstituted department. We doubled the enrollment. And the BSU couldn't come at me because I was well known with all the Black students, and they knew how Black I was. I came there with credentials from Watts and Compton and all the organizations I was a part of. And plus, I had my own troops in the Army, also brothers that followed me. And so there was no conflict. And so we built it from there. And I started in 1970, and then it's still going. They changed the name from Black Studies about in 2007 to Africana Studies, which I was against. I thought they should have kept it Black Studies, but I wasn't there. There wasn't nothing I could do because I retired in 2004. So those are the dynamics that we have to look at, but it still exists. And they're just all over the country now. They got a Council of Black Studies. Almost everybody in there got PhDs. And some of them got doctorates, but they need a doctor because they don't know the history of the struggle to get it started. And they think they got that job because of their credentials. They got that job because students, that's the majority of Black people are hired in Black studies, as I pointed out last week. Black faculty, when it comes down to it. And most of the Black colleges wouldn't even start a Black studies program and was against BSU on their campuses of the 100 Black colleges. Because white people were they on their boards and made up at that time 50% of their faculty, and so they wouldn't let BSUs on campuses, and told them they couldn't wear and some schools, Prairie View, wouldn't let them wear naturals or African garments on campus. I mean, these were the independent Black schools, but they changed eventually. But those are the struggles. Any comments? Well, Rashaki, tell us what's on tomorrow.
Well, thank you for that very significant lesson, Professor Rahh. Excellent. Tomorrow, let me show you. Let me show everybody so they can join. If you are interested in coming to the show tomorrow, we have guest Dr. Inky, and the host is going to be Sophia, but I'll be there. And normally the Fab Five is there. So that's who we got tomorrow. Dr. Inky is back.
And what he's going to talk about?
Spirituality and heart health.
And
Heart health.
Heart health. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want everybody to have a good day, good evening. Enjoy yourself. The movement continues. It's always a good day to struggle. Our biggest struggle is with ourselves and our own contradictions. That's our biggest struggle. One of our biggest struggles. Just pay attention to what's going on in the world. It's changing rapidly. But we are people that was here in the beginning, and so shall we be in the end. All right. I'll talk to y'all later.
All right. We're going to take our pause. Each one in Conscious Corner. Everybody continue to have a great day.
All right.